What's up, everybody? This is your boy Tomish from Ageless Galaxy. And today I'm out here with the legendary Jeff Staple. How you doing, Jeff?
Great. Thanks
Welcome
for having me.
to Jakarta.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. This is dope.
I'm so honored to have him visit us at our store.
What's up, Jakarta?
So today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk a little bit about a special book that Jeff has just released. And just deep dive into it. We're gonna talk a little bit about mentality and how he got here, and talk a little bit about the journey and all the beautiful, awesome things he's achieved over the years. So let's get to that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about, you've been in the industry for 25 something years now, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how was it, how do you feel coming through this process? You were here before streetwear was even a thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now this is 2023,
Yeah.
like when
I started it in 1997.
1997 is that's a like so many things have happened. iPhone wasn't even around that time,
Yeah.
So
I had a beeper.
you mean a pager?
A pager, yeah. And then, just not to segue, but I would have a pager, and then when someone would page me, I would have to find a coin, and then find the phone booth, and then put a coin in, and then call the person. That's how you communicated back then.
Wow.
And that, when it happened, was like the height of technology.
Yeah.
Because before that was landline phones, where like if you weren't home, no one called you.
Exactly.
In touch,
I remember that.
So like the beeper was like, yo, we are in the future.
Oh my God.
I could be anywhere and you can just page me.
That's hilarious. Wait, and the pagers came before internet, correct?
Yeah.
It was before the modem.
I started Staple without the internet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that era.
Yeah, that era was, it was the birth of street culture.
Yeah.
But it was even a little bit of a precursor to it, because my definition of street culture is like hip hop culture, skateboarding culture, punk rock culture, and sneaker culture. If you put it into a blender, that's what like street culture is, But prior to street culture, it was very segmented about where you could be. Meaning, if you listened to hip hop, you couldn't really have a skateboard. And if you listened to punk rock, you couldn't go to a rap show.
True.
And if you were into sneakers, it meant you were a jock.
Wow.
And it wasn't like you were into fashion. So like, it was very segmented. And I think what happened in the early 90s is people started to like want these things to come together, but we're still sort of fighting the stigmas of them.
Yeah.
Like if you were a black kid and you wore baggy pants and you just kind of were interested in skateboarding, your friends would like make fun of you. That, so I think there was like some people that were trying to like break those barriers down, and I was like at ground zero living in downtown New York City, where if there was like a science experiment of what happens if these cultures come together, downtown New York City was like the lab.
Yeah.
It was like the science lab for watching this shit happen right in front of your eyes, And so I was definitely a product of being in the right place, right time, and being able to like bear witness to that moment and then figure out a way of how I can like contribute to that.
So cool.
Yeah.
But like all the things that you went through, right? What was that drive that kept you going? What was the calling? Where did you see the future of where you were going to be?
No.
Did you have that envision that, I wanted to work with a brand like Nike, for instance?
No. It was just love. Just love. I loved what I was seeing, and it was that love that like made me want to like just experiment more and like figure out how to like contribute to it more. There was no way, like forget meeting with Nike or like doing any sort of like business or anything. I would have been happy if literally I could sell 12 t-shirts and have a full-time stable job doing something else, but continue to sell like a dozen shirts here and there. I would have been so happy.
Yeah.
That's how low my expectations were of this.
Wow.
Like there wasn't like, Jeff, you're gonna have a brand, you're gonna collaborate, you're gonna have stores and all that stuff. Like, no, I'd be like, yo, I made a shirt and this store bought them. Like, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how sort of like realistic my expectations
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. So recently we've been seeing a lot of like Asian representation of like, you know, in the media, right?
Yeah,
like we've seen a lot of, what do you call it? Asian American people like yourself,
Yeah.
you know, making brands and things
Yep.
like that,
Yeah.
right? So tell us a little bit about, you know, how do you think that has like opened the door for like people coming out from Southeast Asia as well? Like I feel so.
Yeah.
I mean, it has given, like, I think, as I mentioned, you know, when we started Ageless Galaxy, I was telling you like, hey, we once, I once had you on a mood board.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And I was looked at it, I was like, oh, Jeff looks like an Asian dude from America, and then, you know, we're from Asia, and that was kind of like the thing that pushed us to be like, maybe we could be something too, coming from Jakarta,
Totally.
you know?
I mean, that's an amazing thing to have.
Yeah.
You know?
No, but like, how do you feel that has, you know, paved the way for like, you know, younger people? You know, what's
Yeah.
your take on that?
Oh, I think it's immensely powerful. If you can imagine now, put yourself in my shoes where there was no role model.
Yeah.
Like, there was literally, there was two lack of role models. One, there was no like streetwear brand, independently owned brand to like aspire to. And then B, obviously because of that, there was no Asian representation in that because there was no representation in that period. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like my mood board would have been like Polo, Ralph Lauren, and Tommy Hilfiger.
True.
Right? Which was like, whoa, these cool brands that like people love, but they're two like old white guys that own these brands. So like, you know, there was no like, this could be me. But then I remember actually when I saw Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, holy shit. Like, there is this cool Asian dude, Simu Liu, like kicking ass and like, you know, like just being a superhero.
Yeah.
You know, and like, he was also very like real and personable. Whereas like when I was growing up, we had Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
But Bruce Lee is like literally Thor. Like he's not
Literally.
someone that I could be Bruce Lee. Like, no, I can't be Bruce Lee, right?
Yeah.
So he was like a mythical figure that we had looking up to. But I noticed that when Shang-Chi came out, like what that must do for like a 12-year-old watching this in a movie theater must be like, damn, like I could be a superhero. I could be like anybody I want. That's massive. And then to your point, seeing like Nigo or Hiroshi or Bobby, you know, like, or any of these people like doing brands, it's like, wow, even though my mom and dad want me to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, like, look at these folks. They look like me and they're killing it. They're doing, like, they're living the dream. And it's like, maybe I could do this too.
No, but that's such a cool, you know, way to look at it as well, right? So let's talk a little bit about also when you were going through the beginning of Staple, right? Like, I'm sure you had challenges. Not everything was a smooth ride. Not everything happened to the way it like not everything was like planned out as per your expectations, right? Like, let's talk.
Nothing was.
So
I can't think of a good thing.
Let's talk a little bit about the challenges that you experienced. Like, anything that comes to mind that you feel like you could always stuck with you, you know, going forward.
I mean, I think the one thing that sticks out is the financial aspect.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of like creators or designers that might be watching this, I'm gonna take a guess that you're probably a designer and a creative because you're not so good at math. I'm gonna assume that, right? So I sucked at math. I sucked at numbers.
I think I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, like, because if we were really good at balancing checkbooks, we would be
bankers.
Bankers, exactly. But we're really
like
good at
cool
drawing.
bankers.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there's some of you that are like really good at math and art. That's dope. You're gonna be like, we're all gonna be working for you one day. But no, I sucked at math, and so I remember starting Staple. The financial side of the business was a complete mess, you know, and I was getting into crazy debt, you know.
Yeah.
And at one point, going into Staple, I'm trying to think, I think it was like around like 3 years or 5 years in, around that mark, I was like 150 plus K, 150,000 USD in debt.
Wow.
Yeah. And what I was doing is like, I was maxing out credit cards.
Okay.
And then I couldn't pay the credit card bill, and then they just charge you interest. And in America, the interest is nuts. It's like 25% interest.
Wow. Okay.
Right? If you can't pay the bill. So every month, my interest is bigger than the bill that I charged. So I'm just like digging myself into a hole.
Wow.
You know, and I couldn't pay it off, and I was like over, like I said, 150 plus K in debt. At some point, I just said like, I'm not paying these bills. Right? And I didn't understand the ramifications of what that means when you don't pay the bills.
Yeah.
And when you don't pay the bills, they come after you.
Yeah.
Aggressively, right? They start calling you and your home. They start calling your family members. They start calling your school. They start calling your job. Like, they come after you hard.
How old were you around this time?
21.
Okay.
22.
Okay.
And, you know, I soon learned about bankruptcy.
Okay.
You know, I soon learned about like financial settlement, which is one step before bankruptcy. And I went through the whole thing. Like I destroyed my credit, went bankrupt, owed them all this money, and I had to like climb my way out of it. And you know, like I think today I look back and I have the same chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
About being broke. And I'll never forget that feeling, you know, and I think that sort of drives me and really dictates a lot of the way that I live. You know, like you see a lot of other like brand owners, like they make it and then you see them driving a Lambo and spinning rims and they're like popping bottles and stuff.
Yeah.
And you'll rarely see that from me because I remember being broke. You know, and there's an argument, I've talked about this with people where there's an argument where like, if you remember being broke, you live each day like it's your last. So that's why you should pop bottles. But I'm like, no, I remember that really, not even being zero, being negative, which is scary because people come after you, like I said. And so, yeah, I'm just like really humbled and blessed that like, I have good credit now. I look at my bank account. Like sometimes I'll just be randomly on a Sunday, like open my bank account and look at the number and I can't believe that number is my number.
Wow.
Like the balance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and no,
I really want to know what the number is. I'm just joking.
It's sad when, it's a little bit sad too because I can't actually accept and fathom that number is my number.
Yours.
Because I remember when that number was red and had a negative sign in the front of it.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up with from like 18 to like 25. Those formative years were like that. So I can't even, I live as if, it'd be almost like if you put someone who's been in prison for like decades, and then you move them out of prison and put them in a mansion. They would literally be scared to live in the mansion. They wouldn't know how to accept it. Like, I don't know if you saw Shawshank Redemption. But like the guy got out of jail and hung himself because he couldn't understand freedom. And so like when I look at the bank balance, I'm literally like, I can't even accept that this is my number.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I can relate to this in a way because I remember in the early days with me and Georgie, there was a situation where we had this project running and we haven't had the funds yet, or we hadn't had the deposits come in yet, right? And the crazy thing was, at a moment I was quite broke, you know, and in Indonesia, you know, the bank, the ATM machines only allowed to give you 50 or 100,000, you know, notes, right? And my bank account went down to 40,000 and I couldn't even take that money out of the bank account. Like,
They didn't have a bill small enough to
no, because I couldn't take it out. And I had to buckle down for like a good, like 2.5 weeks to finish this project to get that, you know, to get that money transferred. And that really stuck with me. And that was the conversation I had with Georgie. And I said, we can never be in this situation again. We need to structure and find stability. You know what I mean?
But the moral of the story here, and this is why I mentioned earlier the word love, is because there's no sensible, logical reason why a human being should go down to that point for this type of work that we do. There's like, any sane person would be like, snap out of it, man.
True.
Like, what are you fucking doing? You're printing shirts and you're like, you're on your last penny doing sneaker painting fucking shit. Like, get a job. Go pack groceries or something, right? That's like what a normal person would do. But because of our love of this, we have gone slightly mad. And we are willing to sacrifice everything to get this to where we want to be.
100%.
And so when people ask me, how do you do what you did? What's the secret? It's you have to figure out, like, what do you love most doing? And that's the only thing that could propel you past any state of reason to get to the point where you have to work that hard to get what you want.
Crazy.
It can't just be money, or it can't just be flexing or like networking. It's not enough. I can tell you this. It is not enough motivation to get you to run the marathon that is required.
True.
You know, it has to be love.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So let's say if it wasn't Staple, if it wasn't this path that you took, and you had to move the other way, where do you think you would be today? What would you be? Like, you wouldn't be Jeff Staple from the Staple brand. What do you think you would have been doing?
I'd be either one of two things. I'd either be like a creative director at an agency, at an ad agency, getting paid really well, clocking in, clocking out, doing my hours, and sort of hating my life, like doing quasi what seems like creative work, but actually not that creative, you know? Or I'd be a teacher. I love teaching. I teach in schools even after I started Staple. And I really have a passion for that. You know, I'm on Skillshare, and I love just sharing knowledge and information. So if it wasn't for Staple, I'd probably be a full-time professor at a university.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's similar to like, you know, I've always, like, you know, business of hype, for instance, right?
Yep.
Like that's a great way. Like I remember I got so into it during the lockdowns, during the pandemic. You know, it was kind of like a thing where you go for a run, you pull out an episode, you know, and just that conversations that you were able to like extract out of people, you know, and find their X factor. You know, that was kind of like, you know, another indirect way of educating. You pull out something from somebody that has made it and failed and made it, and then you share that to the world, you know? Like,
so one of my proudest achievements is that I feel like I was able to hack the classroom.
Okay.
Like, I used to teach in schools. Like, I taught at FIT, NYU, Parsons, Columbia, School of Business. I taught classrooms of 30 kids who were, you know, frankly speaking, rich and entitled, and their parents could afford to put them in the school that costs $60,000 a semester, right? And so these privileged children get to learn the knowledge that I'm able to give. And through things like the clothing line, the podcast, Skillshare, all of it, even Web3, right? Like, all of these things to me is ways that I figured out how to make the classroom educational environment less gatekeepy and more like open source.
I love that.
Right? Like, I would say if you listen to the business of hype, you actually get 100x more knowledge than if you went to a classroom
100%
and paid money. This is free for everyone, you know? But I will say that, like, not everybody can call up Hypebeast and be like, can I get a podcast on Hypebeast, right? So I had to work my ass off to get to the point where I could pick up the phone and call Kevin Ma and be like, let's do a podcast, I have this idea. So I had to work hard to get to that point, but once I got there, I'm the type of person that wanted to like kick open the door and let everyone in to like learn.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So let's talk a little bit about moving into this book. Right? The book is such a milestone for you.
It is.
You know, the minute I received it and I opened it and I looked at everything. Okay, for one, I was just like, it's crazy because like when I started Ageless Galaxy and I was like, I'm not fanboying here, but like when I looked at what Staple was doing back in the day and how you built the business and all those things. But that was me just following it, reading articles, watching this episode, watching that interview, you know, looking at you drop that collaborate and just trying to connect the dots and seeing how your brain is wired and that inspiration that gets us to like recalibrate our path. But when I see the book as a follower, as a friend, as somebody that has mad respect, as a collaborator, right? I had nothing but a sense of a pride moment for you. You know what I mean? Like I had like just a pure.
Like you knew how happy I was.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I was just like, this is it. This is this is it right here. This book was a wild. You know, it's just another turning point of all the shit you've achieved. You know.
And you know me, I'm not really the type to like talk my shit. Like, I'm not like a braggadocious person, like,
Yeah.
yo, have you seen the shit that I've done? You know, like,
No.
but like,
Yeah, you've never done
no,
that.
I've never done that. But I like that you sensed that I did that
Yeah.
in this book.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, no words. Have you seen my book? You know, like.
It's an amazing book.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk a little bit about the book, right? I would like to know, like, what made you decide to release a book?
So people have been asking me to write a book for a long time. Like, shout out Bobby Hundreds, who wrote an amazing book. I think that book was really important for the culture because it showed that like these knuckleheads who make t-shirts and sneakers can actually like do something in the realm of academics and like teach, you know, through a book. And so a lot of people were asking me to write a book after that. You know, we're busy. And writing a book requires you to like kind of stop progressing in a way, pause. Like, I'm not going to work on this, and this, because I'm going to pause and reflect on my past and see how that can coalesce into a book, right?
Yeah.
So we're always moving forward. So it's like, I didn't want to pause really and work on a book. And the funny story is like, Hiroshi Fujiwara, Fragment, put out a Rizzoli book. Yeah. And he asked me to write the foreword for his book, which was an honor, you know, and I was more than happy to do it.
That's amazing.
And I think he told Rizzoli, like, my friend Jeff is gonna write the foreword, and you're like, okay, cool. So I wrote the foreword and then I submitted the copy to Rizzoli, and they were like, oh, you're Jeff Staple. I'm like Hiroshi didn't say that, he just said Jeff. You know? So when they were like,
just a regular Jeff.
Yeah, like my friend Jeff, yeah. So when Rizzoli was like, oh, you're Jeff Staple, like, we would love to do a book with you as well. Wow. That was the impetus for us starting a book. And I didn't want to really do it. Like, they sort of encouraged me to do it. And we worked out, you know, we negotiated the terms and blah, 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 and like figured out how it would work. Yeah. And then it took 2 years to make the book. And, you know, I think timing is everything because we started it in 2020 when lockdown happened. Yeah. So there was naturally a slowing down of the whole world, right? Yes. And so it gave us the breathing room to be able to do that reflection that is required to make a book like this. And it just so happened, as again, serendipitous timing is everything, 2022 is our 25th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And the book came out in November of 2022. Wow. So it was like a perfect just mic drop moment of like a quarter century of being in this culture and then having it just memorialized in this Rizzoli book was seriously like amazing. That's so cool. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the process of putting this book together. Yeah. You know, we spoke a little bit about like, you know, obviously to make something like this, it needs your time and, you know, working and moving in parallel to other projects and stuff. Even regardless, it was a lockdown. So you mentioned to me earlier about, you know, you got somebody to help you put it together and design. Let's talk about that process. Yeah. I think one of the first things that I realized in making this book was that if I was going to be the editor and the writer and the designer, which are all three things that I'm very comfortable doing, it would take like 10 years to put this book out. Yeah. A, because of my limited time, but B, because it would never be good enough for me. I'd always want to like keep adjusting and adding and like going OCD over it. So I made the decision to hire an editor. Shout out Emily Suzuki from, I met her at Hypebeast actually, she's a Hypebeast editor. And then, and she's actually from, I don't know if you know Core 77, it's like a really infamous blog. She's also a writer there. And then I hired an art director, shout out to Brent Rollins, who's a legendary designer that I've been looking up to since I was in college. Oh, dope. Like his career spans, like he's from Complex Magazine, Ego Trip, Rap Pages. Sick. Dead Presidents, the movie, Poetic Justice, like he just designed these iconic things. And so I reached out to both of them and asked if they would help. And they did. And then it became, the other person that I have to really shout out is my partner, Liz, right? Because the thing is like, a lot of the stuff that you see in the book is like heavy archival stuff. Yeah. That have been sitting in sealed envelopes and folders and like stationery boxes since the 90s. Wow. And it's never been opened. Like even by me, I never looked back on it. I was a hoarder and I was super organized. So I just filed everything away and put it into a storage facility or into my mom's closet, right? So it would have been really hard for anyone at Rizzoli or even my team to like hey, Jeff Staples' mom, can I come over and dig in the crates for like a Saturday afternoon, right? Yeah. So because Liz is my partner, my life partner, she was able to get access to all of this really intimate stuff that you're gonna see in the book. Like I'm talking diary entries, journal entries of like my struggle.
I saw those.
That like, honestly, nobody could have accessed.
So good.
Yeah, yeah. So Liz was great in like unearthing that stuff and creating first, like the way I work with any project, even if it's a design project, is like, I wanna see the whole thing, the whole lump of shit, right? I just wanna see it all. And then I wanna start, the way I sort of contextualize a project is I start chiseling away at it.
Yeah.
And then refining it, right? It's like making a sculpture, like out of a block, you know? And I start hammering away, editing stuff out, slicing stuff. And then once you get something that looks sort of like a shape, you start to buff it and like make it something beautiful. So in the book, I also just had everything. Then it's like, we knew from the publisher that it had to be like around 300 pages. You can't make a 1,000-page book, you know? Like, so we had to start slicing stuff away. So, you know, I'm kind of sad because, you know, it looks like there's a lot of work in this book, but it's really only about like 60% of all of my work. There's like 40% that didn't make it into the book, but that's just, it is what it is, you know? So after that, now we have the mound of stuff that we know we want to be in the book. Then it comes down to like, how do we photograph it? How do we document it? How do I transcribe some of the things that need transcription, you know? Like, for instance, a notebook, do we scan it or do we photograph it? Like, these are little like fine-tuning decisions that need to be made, you know? So then it's like whittling that down. Then once you have the assets, all of the photography and copy, then it goes into art direction and design, layout.
Yes.
Then there's that process. And really shout out to Brent Rollins for like helping me with the flow. Brent and I come from like old school hip hop DJing culture. And so we are very attuned to the concept of like the mixtape, right? The mixtape, or when you do a DJ session, it's not necessarily about what you're playing, it's in what order it goes in. And if you've ever been to a dope party, you know that like they take you on a ride. They know when to like
they feel the
down.
crowd.
And then it's time to bring it up and then wind down, right? That's cadence, you know? And so with a book, it's very similar. Like you can't just go, like, it's not like page 1, pigeon dunk. Like you just can't just take people, you know, you gotta like take them on a journey, you know?
On a journey.
So Brent actually took me on a journey of my own career.
Wow, it's like somebody making a movie about you.
Yes.
Very cool.
It was, yeah. And so shout out to him. And then one of my other favorite parts of the book is the editor, Emily. She reached out to the whole community. And her inspiration around this was like, I don't know if you do this in Indonesia, but like when you finish like high school or something, you get like a yearbook.
Yeah.
And then what do? You get all your friends to sign
write
the back
stuff
of the
about
book,
you.
right? Like, yo, it was so great hanging with you, class, right? So she went to my whole community that's ever worked with me, collaborated with me, been on my show, whatever, and said, Jess putting out a book, do you want to say a few words? And so the back has this like, it's called the epilogue, and it's like everyone in the community writing how it was like to interact with me in Staple. And
that must have been very emotional.
Emotional, yeah, because it was the breadth of people and talent that was in this book.
So good.
That is like just, I mean, I get goosebumps talking about it right now, you know.
Such an amazing story, Jeff.
Yeah.
Like, even now, like, so when I opened the book today, you know, before you arrived, this past few weeks, I kept holding the book and I was like, damn, you know, like I kept, even I showed it to the team, I was like, damn, like, like this is not easy, you know, putting all this together is not easy, right? I could see a Netflix documentary coming out after this. I don't know, maybe, you know.
Well, most Rizzoli books are like picture books.
Exactly.
They're just like, look at all the dope shit I made.
Yes, exactly.
You know? But I didn't want to do that. I really, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to make the textbook that I wished existed when I was in art school.
Fantastic.
And it didn't exist. It probably didn't even exist for you. I mean, you had YouTube videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, there wasn't like, this is the required reading manual on how to start your own
Exactly.
brand, you know?
And I feel like universities should have this in their library. You know what I mean? You should just reach out to all these universities and be like, hey,
free copies.
Just have this in your library.
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I was trying to make.
So good. So also, let's talk a little bit about, you know, obviously, did you have any say in the design aspect of it when you were going through the design process of the book? Or you let go full?
I let go, but I had final say.
Okay.
And I would, of course, tweak out.
Okay.
But like, I would say it was 90% Brent presenting it to me. I treated myself like the client.
Okay, great.
You know, so like I looked at it and then I would adjust and tweak, but like I really wanted to let go. And it feels great to do it that way.
Yeah. And this is more on the production side of things.
Yeah.
How far were you into like knowing what type of cover you wanted it to be, or the print? And you know, I know these are things that we experience when we do collaborations and stuff, right? Just to nerd out a little bit, like let's talk about that part.
Hours of meetings on the cloth, the Pantone, whether it was gold stamped, foil stamped.
I love this stuff, by the way.
Yeah, the belly bands, you know, which is like the paper that wraps the dust cloth cover. Like all of that stuff was heavily considered, debated, and even argued on. And you know, it's collaboration, compromises have to be made.
Yeah.
It's funny, I didn't even want that necessarily to be the title of the book. The title of the book is Jeff Staple, Not Just Sneakers, right?
Yes.
And the funny thing is, we had other titles that we were considering. And Rizzoli came back and said, you know, we've done research on like keywords and metadata and Google search words.
Okay.
And I guess when people search the word sneakers, like Jeff Staple comes up immediately.
That's
right?
awesome.
So we feel like the word sneakers needs to be in the title of your book. And I'm arguing with them like, this ain't a sneaker book though. This ain't like Sneaker Freaker. It's not like that. It's not the world's greatest sneakers. It's not the sneakers I designed. They're like, yeah, but you know, we really feel like it'll help with sales and like people get exposed. And I was like, all right, fuck it. We're gonna call it Not Just Sneakers, motherfucker.
Wow.
So it's a win-win. The word sneakers is in the title, so it helps with the meta.
And it has an indirect meaning too.
Exactly. It's
Very
like the
cool.
opposite to that.
And they approved it right away?
Yeah, they couldn't.
They couldn't say
argue.
no?
Yeah, they could either. I answered what you wanted. The word sneakers is in the book.
So there's two versions of the copy, right? As I remember, there's one which is a individual book, and then you have another special edition with a box, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I just wanted to bring what you and I always do with streetwear, which is like just try to like hustle our way in and figure out how to make basically, how do you turn 1 + 1 into 10? Right? That's what streetwear is really all about. And so I remember I casually asked Rizzoli, I was like, you know, would you care if I like made a few things with the Rizzoli logo?
Okay.
And they're like what? I was like, I don't know, t-shirt, like
keychains,
like a bag. You know? Meanwhile, I was already talking to Porter about making a bag. Like a little tote thing.
Yeah.
And an NFT.
Yeah.
They'd never done an NFT. I was like, you know, maybe like a digital asset.
Wait, so the t-shirt we did, was that also approved or that? Oh, okay.
I mean, it was approved because it's under the Staple deal.
Okay, great.
So you know, thankfully the Rizzoli team was like, they didn't answer right there. They said, we're gonna have a meeting and get back to you.
Yeah.
They got back to us and they're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, that's awesome.
And I was like, okay, we'll work out like the royalty. Oh, no need for royalty. Just make whatever you want.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they were just like, we just make books.
Yeah.
We don't care.
And we'll stick to books.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so like we made a shirt. And I remember when you asked, like, can we put a big Ageless Galaxy logo?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to take advantage of start.
No, 100%.
That's like now I'm licensing their brands to other brands.
And then it would look like you're abusing the shit out of it.
Totally. Like next thing there's like Levi's jeans.
I know.
Like,
and then we turned like into all these collaborations. No, but it was good.
Turn it into like Smiley. Like it becomes $1 billion brand.
And then suddenly we make a shitload of money out of it. And then they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I thought you could. We could do anything."
Yeah. We did a Skechers.
Yeah. Anyways,
but yeah, so no, just doing fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the deluxe edition has the shirt, and on the shirt, this is one of the things that Liz unearthed.
Yeah.
Because she's like digging through my sketchbooks, and she finds the moment that I wrote in my college sketchbook. What if I named the brand something like Staple?
Yeah.
Like I wrote that to myself.
Oh my God.
And she found that, so we scanned that in, and that's one of the centerfolds in the book. But then we put that on the t-shirt as well. Imagine like the moment where I was like, man, what if it was called something like Staple?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such an amazing story. I love how, you know, we went through a whole emotional thing and then we came out, and how much fun and stress and again emotional and again fun you extract out of just creating, you know?
Yep.
And even making your own book, you're going through the same things that you're going through with whatever you're starting out. It's always the same thing, and it comes back to for love.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep,
you know?
exactly.
So now let's deep dive a little bit into the brand, Staple, right? Like with all the things that are coming out, all the trends that are coming out, you know, I also realize that our audience is only gonna get younger and younger and younger, you know, and I still like to keep like, you know, the older audience as well, right? But what do you do to stay relevant in this changing market, in this changing scene, we so called it? Streetwear today and streetwear in the past, in the 2000s and the 90s is so different.
Yeah.
But what are you doing to keep up with, you know, the constant change and stay above the scene, you know?
Yeah, I think the way we approach it is two ways. One is focusing on our inline collection, which comes out seasonally, 4 to 6 collections a year, hundreds of styles per collection. And, you know, for 25 years, we've never skipped a season, not once.
Wow.
Yeah, just been super consistent the whole way. And I think that idea of consistency is something that I really adhere to and admire. It's something that I learned by observing Ralph Polo, right? Like the consistency of that, and how the same way where like that polo horse meant so much, like embroidered really small on a shirt or on your bed sheet, or you know, they have house paints, like everything. Yeah, I love the accessibility yet consistency of all of that. You know, it's just like a brand exercise that I've always admired. And growing up, you know, I just always loved brands. Like, I loved how a symbol could either be meaningless clip art or revered like a religion. You know what I mean? Like, why is a swoosh like all of a sudden this thing that like makes people go crazy, you know? So I think with our logo, the pigeon, you know, I wanted to really create a mark that had like very deep volumes of meaning. And when people see it, they get a visceral reaction of like, what? Why? I hate pigeons, or like, yo, I get it. You know, like I love that like juxtaposition. So the inline collection is one thing, and then the other thing is collaboration. And I think when we work on collabs, that's where we can like touch different demographics, people. It's a great way to bring in new audiences. It's also a great way to like ever get younger and younger, because you can do like, I mean, we've done collaborations with like Hello Kitty and Sesame Street. So now we're talking to like kids, like 7-year-olds, you know what I mean? Yeah. Actually, and Will from SneakerCon just sent me a photo of his like 3-year-old with the Sesame Street staple plushes. You know, that like, now that 3-year-old is now growing up with Staple. Yeah. You know? Or we could go the other way and go with like a historic legacy brand, you know, that talks to like a 50-year-old. Yeah. You know? So like collaborations is sort of a way to be able to take your brand and pivot into like different circles. And so with those two ways, you know, I think the third way actually is like just really staying true to like myself as the founder and being able to like live and breathe everything that I'm making. Yeah. Because I think having that consistent through line is really, really important as well. We've been debated on and offered many opportunities to like trend chase. Okay. You know, like, oh, this is happening, let's go in that direction, you know? And I'm really happy that all the times that we've had that debate, we've decided to not do it. Yeah. You know, and just stay true to ourselves, even if it meant sacrificing money. Okay. You know, so it's just like, I think staying true to your roots is probably one, but then it's you got to do all three. That's the thing. Like, you can't just stay true to your roots and be like, we stay true to ourselves, but then like skip fall, winter 24 and spring, summer. Like, great, you stay true to your roots, but nobody can get your shit. True. Congrats. So it's like, stay true to your roots, yes, but be consistent and produce. Okay. I think that's the thing about Staple is like, people that tell me like, man, you guys are always putting stuff out and like, you never skip a beat. So consistency. And then third is being open-minded about working with others, AKA collaboration. And that's like the secret sauce and the spice, you know, but using that sort of like cooking analogy, like if you don't just make your bread and butter, you won't stay around for very long. Like your establishment needs the core items that people know you and love you for, and then you add the spice, you know what I mean? Very true. Yeah, it's like McDonald's, it's like you need the French fries and the Big Mac. And the Happy Meals. Every once in a while you could bring a McRib in. True. Every once in a while you could bring in a Travis Scott collaboration. But if you fuck up the French fries and the Big Mac, you're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
Your consistent product has to keep running.
Yeah.
I get that. So, we spoke a little bit about icons, the pigeon.
Yeah.
All right. I want to know, have you ever tried to move away from the pigeon for a collaboration? Never?
No way. That's
So if I had to say, like, is it a blessing or a curse? The pigeon.
It's a blessing. The pigeon is a blessing.
Okay.
The pigeon dunk is a curse.
Okay. So
Yeah.
tell me why.
The pigeon dunk is a curse because the pigeon dunk, the Nike SB pigeon dunk, I should be more specific, the OG gray colorway, was not our first shoe.
Yeah.
We had done shoes with Nike before that, but it was early. It was early on, right? Like, we designed the pigeon dunk in 2003. It came out in 2005. And everyone, I hope, knows the legacy and like the sort of grailness of the OG pigeon dunk. If you don't, you can Google it. Right now.
Everyone knows.
Okay. But like, when you do something like that early, then everything you do after that is compared to that thing.
True.
So like Nas, we spent a lot of time together, and he put out his first album was Illmatic.
Yeah.
Right? Which is oftentimes said as like one of the top 3 albums of all time. How is Nas supposed to continue to make albums when he's made the top 3 album of all time?
Wow.
He's always compared to that now, And so the pigeon dunk is very similar. Like, yeah, that's cool, but it ain't the pigeon dunk. It's like, so I'm just supposed to not do anything anymore? I'm still an artist. I still want to create. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the gift and the curse element of it.
Okay.
And also it's a little bit of a curse because, no pun intended, the pigeon dunk has pigeonholed me.
Yeah.
A bit into like, oh, you're the sneaker guy.
Yeah.
It's like, and going back to the title of the book, I'm not just the sneaker guy. Here's the book that'll explain to you why. But I don't mind that much, because I honestly don't care how you find out about who I am. I think once you get to know me, you'll quickly realize that I'm not just whatever you think I am.
Yes.
But I understand that people need like a low-hanging carrot to like enter your universe, Whereas some artists and creatives are like so complex and like cool and convoluted that like you can't actually figure out what the fuck they are.
Yeah.
And like there's no entryway in, because it's like, how do I talk to you? You know? But it's like, oh yeah, Jeff Staple, he's that sneaker guy. He made the greatest sneaker of all time. Call him. That's like our entry. It's a great calling card, So it's fine. You asked about the pigeon mark, dude. It's 1,000% a blessing. Like,
awesome.
People tell me on social media, like, one of the greatest lines I heard is like, Jeff, you did for the pigeon what Walt Disney did for the rat.
That's awesome.
Like,
I love how you call it a rat.
Yeah, it's a mouse.
I know, but
he made it a cuddly thing. That people want, right?
It's so funny though.
It's so good, and like what Ralph did for the horse.
Yeah.
Like, that is, or what Lacoste did for an alligator.
That's crazy.
Like, to be able to make a symbol, and this was a deliberate move on my part. Like, it wasn't by happenstance. Like, I wanted to make something that if you went to China or Japan, you don't have to translate it. You just show it to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, hato, like pigeon, or like, pigeon, like something, but
it's
like,
either they love it, they hate it.
Yeah, but you don't have to be like, oh, this is this is how you say it. Like, it's boom, there it is.
It's like whenever I travel to a city and I see a pigeon and I send a photo to you all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, look, you're everywhere.
People send me photos, like people buy random pigeon statues all the time and send it to me. So that is a major blessing, to create something that like transcends language, age, gender, everything. And people ask me like, when are you gonna get off that pigeon shit? I'm like, what?
Never.
Like, how about you try to create something that transcends all of humanity one time in your life? And then if you are happy to do that and lucky enough to actually achieve that, why would you come off of that? Like, you just hit the grail.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so epic. So a little bit into collaboration, right? I wanted to just say it was an honor to work with you during the pandemic.
And it was fun to work with you too.
We just opened the store.
Yeah.
Everyone was closing shop. The malls were closed, and Ageless Galaxy opened a store in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
We were like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, but you see, like, during the lockdown and having what we had over here, we had to keep things interesting,
Right.
you know? And I just wanted to give a mad appreciation to you for trusting, you know, me when we were working on that. It was crazy. We built that collection on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And today you finally get to see those sketches.
Right.
Like, you know, I was sending you sketches like, yo, what do you think of this? And then how that thing spawned. But I just wanted to say, like, what was your takeaway from that little collaboration? For me, that meant the world, you know, but I wanted to hear from your point of view, like how did you take that collaboration? What you took out of it?
I mean, first, I love the energy that you guys were exhibiting. It felt very like reminiscent to what we've built. There's a lot of similarities between your business. You know, you have a retail store, you have an agency, you have a clothing line, same with us, you know. So I felt a lot of kinship in what you were doing. And we actually met, you know, shout out to Puma.
Yeah.
Because I think Puma was a client of yours.
Yes.
We dropped a Puma collection. We came to Southeast Asia to do a Puma release tour, and you were the agency that was helping to take care of us.
Yep.
So that's how we organically met. And I just, you know, I base a lot of my decisions on vibe and gut. I actually don't base a lot of my decisions on hype, meaning like, oh, do they have a blue check? How many followers do they have? Like, like that stupid shit. Like, I just like to work with people that sort of offer a unique perspective, but that I vibe with. And the extra credit bonus part is that you're representing a region that is often neglected.
Yeah.
You know, that is sort of like always an underdog and like never seen. And when I came here to visit, and that wasn't my first time, I've been to Southeast Asia many times.
Yeah.
I always love the vibe here, truly. Like the lifestyle, the way people like just carry themselves, the food, the culture, the appreciation of arts, crafts, and design. I just love all of that. And we had very little representation here, you know, so even though I was maybe helping you sort of like bring you onto like a New York or global scene and somewhat of a more legacy brand, and you guys were much younger and newer, you were helping me be younger, newer, fresher, but also helping me be seen in a region that we had no real footprint in, you know? So there was like a give and take and a yin yang symbiotic beneficial relationship there.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's so dope. And I think this ties back into, again, relevancy, right?
Yeah.
Like on how you stay relevant.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome to see. Like it was such a unique experience, you know. There are a lot of brands, like, you know, if younger people try to reach out and they haven't had their street cred or anything, it seems harder, you know?
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool to see how you just saw right through all of that. And, you know, you just welcomed us on board, and it was easy.
Yeah,
you know?
and I'm not saying any Tom, Dick, and Harry designer can like be in my DMs and I'll do a collaboration with you. It's not, but I will say it's not about, for me, how popular, famous, rich, or how long you've been in the game. It's not about that for me. It is, I'm going to check out what you've done, and I'm going to see how you execute on work, and I'm going to look at what I perceive as your work ethic and your skills. Yeah. You know, but I don't care if you have a blue check, if you have influencers, or if you've been in the game for decades, or if you have a retail store in Tokyo. Like, I don't care about all that shit. You know, like I've worked with people that are still in their mom's basements. Wow. But I just love their work, you know? In fact, we have that thing that we do every year, the Make a Pigeon thing. Yeah. Where like the last year's winner, Hudson, he lives in Kansas City, Missouri. Wow. He's never been outside of it, and he just crushed it. So dope. Yeah, and like, who cares if you're just some like, he's kind of a dorky kid. Yeah. No offense, Hudson, but like, you're kind of a funny like kid, you know? You don't like drive a dope whip and have gold fronts and like hang out at the dopest club, right? But I was like, yo, you have the skills to pay the bills, my man. The skills to pay the bills. Yeah, and that's like, awesome. And it wasn't actually, with Make a Pigeon, the community actually dictates who rises. It's one thing for me to be like, yo, you're the man, come on up. But like, it's actually the whole entire community brought him up. So that's like the really dope part. Yeah. So good. And with our collaboration, the community does get to vote because they're buying the collaboration and it sells out, and it's like, you know.
I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
So our website was running on WordPress when we launched it.
Okay.
And we weren't ready for the orders that were coming
Yes.
in. So when we launched it, I remember you couldn't fly out because we had you on a Zoom call,
Yeah.
and we had a bunch
Yeah.
of the community out here. And the crazy thing was, while we were doing that talk, we went live. And our ops guy, Victor, went outside for a smoke, and he just sat down and he's like, fuck, our website crashed and there are all these orders and we can't assist to it. And then I'm like, so that's a good thing or that's a bad thing? Or like, what are we gonna do about it, you know? And we found a way to reboot it and slowly took in the orders. We sold out the collection.
I didn't know this story.
It was such a nightmare, but it was also a blessing in disguise. The next day, we invested into Shopify, and that changed our life after that.
That's innovation.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we were like, I mean, we were.
We need to step it up. Now
yeah, we
we're-
had to
yeah.
step it up, and
Yeah,
now our
yeah.
whole store is integrated with Shopify. By the way, Shopify did not sponsor us to make this video, but
Right.
but that changed our life. But that gave us a little bit of
Yeah.
it was hilarious.
That reminds me of a story when we dropped the Panda Pigeon Dunk
Yeah.
on this platform called Network.
Okay.
It's like a app-based shopping network that is like heavily funded, like, you know, millions and millions of dollars are funding this like thing. And I was at the network headquarters as we were dropping this pigeon dunk,
Yeah.
right? And minutes before, there's like a coffee table of 12 coders on laptops, right? And they're just like, they're playing like war games. They're like, we're being attacked by bots at all angles. We're trying to shut them down, right? Like, and they're trying to play defense, right? And me and the owner, Aaron Levant, we're just like watching, like, we're gonna be good though, right? Like when this drops, it's gonna be good. They're like, yeah, we're on top of it. And as the minutes clicked off to release time, right? The hour strikes, they're all crunching, sweating, right?
That's crazy.
At the same time, everyone just lets go and closes their laptops. They all close their laptops. And Aaron and I were like, what happened? They're like, we lost the app.
Oh no!
They took down the entire, it wasn't even like botted orders.
Yeah.
They took down the
Wow.
app. And they just, like your man who just went outside and smoked
Like,
and lost it,
it's
they
just
were
like-
just like,
it's just like, we can't do
lost-
anything.
We lost the whole thing.
Yeah, it's done.
We've never seen anything like this. The developer said like, you ever watch that movie 300?
Yeah.
Where like, he's like standing there and all the like bad guys are running towards him. They were like, that's what we felt like. Like
Oh my
all
God.
these people were like just charging us.
So good.
Yeah, so like doing a staple drop is the litmus test for how good your IT and dev team are.
Yeah. No, that was very impressive, and that made us change a lot of things internally, and we had a better system moving forward, better
Yeah.
protocols.
I mean, arguably, you could say Sneakers app
yes.
is a response to releases like the one
True,
they did.
true,
Like
true,
we need
true.
a better way. It can't be first come first serve at a store and people getting stabbed.
So
like there
dope.
needs to be a better way. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Anyways, this has been a super honor.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for getting on the loop with us.
Of course.
And
Thank you.
any last words you would like to share to anybody that is on the rise?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday when we were having a meal that like, it doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter how small you think your town is, like you can literally do something nowadays and put your city or town on the map, you know, and what Tamish and his team are doing is amazing because you're putting Jakarta in Indonesia on the map. And after a certain while, as you grind and as you represent where you're from, eventually people won't care where you're from as a negative way. They're actually gonna be like, where are you from? I need to go to where you are because you've got that secret sauce, you know?
That's awesome.
And so I would not use that as an excuse of like, man, I can't make it. I'm not in New York or Paris. Like, no, man, F that, you know? Like, look at you guys, look at like, you know, who did I mention? Like Drake from Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just like people can put things on their back, you know? And I definitely credit New York City a lot from where I come from. But no, nowadays it doesn't have to be like that. You could be anywhere and make the dream happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you too.
Looking forward to doing more stuff with
Yeah.
you in the future.
Peace, Jakarta.
Peace out, and stay tuned for more updates from AGLXY Loop. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button and leave a comment below. If you want more, subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications. And don't forget to share this video with your friends. See you next time. Peace.